Hello. I am back, and I have a new novel that I would like to give my opinion on. So, this is The Holy Maiden Uncovers My Coffin When I Just Become an Emperor's Corpse. This title is confusing, and it may not make sense when you first look at it, but it is quite apt at describing what the novel is actually about. So, it just got posted, I think. Yep, 14 hours ago. So, I'm here. It's just me and these two guys. And I have to say, after reading this, I am not impressed at all. I mean, this is even comparing this to a typical Eastern fantasy novel where the protagonist, is super strong or whatever with face slaps all around. This is just not it. I'll get into more about that later, but let me first cover the synopsis. So, Yang Yang found himself becoming a corpse, but before he could stay for a minute, the lid of his coffin was opened. A stunning face appeared in front of him. As the holy maiden of the fairy maiden sect, she possessed the quasi-emperor empire bloodline. Blood spilled from the corner of her mouth, fell, and landed on his face. His eyes opened. The Sword Dao Emperor, who was buried for 100,000 years, has come to life once again. This synopsis is okay. Now, does it tell you anything of actual note? No. And based on what I read, I'm pretty sure that this is supposed to be quasi emperor bloodline, not quasi empire bloodline, but potato, potato, who really cares? It's just a synopsis. Anyway, this is sort of accurate. If this sounds like something that you would want to read, then feel free. I mean, at the very least, I was not bored. Well, I was not that bored reading the first 20 chapters, but I don't really see how this novel could move forward. So, before I get into it, I'll just look at the reviews really fast. They're mainly positive, but I don't think that this novel deserves 4.5 stars because it's just not that good, quite frankly. Right now, there's 20 chapters. I guess one of them's locked, but whatever. Yeah, so 20 chapters. It could get better, but quite frankly, I don't see it getting better at all. I haven't read the raws, but just based off of the pacing and the way that the story's structured, it just simply won't go anywhere. So I'm going to start talking about spoilers. So if you actually want to read it, then you could just, you know, close the video or something. Anyway, starting off. So the novel is essentially about this guy, as the synopsis states. So he's from the blue planet, classic, from Earth, and he transmigrates into the body of a sword emperor. And this sword emperor has been, you know, dead in a coffin for 100,000 years. And he takes control of the body of the sword emperor who's in a coffin. And when the story starts, you have a holy maiden. Yeah. So a holy maiden, and there's another sect. See, I just read this and I don't even remember the sect's name, and that should tell you something. Anyway, so the Holy Maiden and then some member of another sect, and they're fighting each other over the Emperor's corpse, which is the main character's body, but they still think it's a corpse because he hasn't done anything yet. Oh, there we go, Blackwater sect. Yeah, so they're fighting over the Emperor's corpse, and they don't notice the main character. But then, okay, the main character awakens. And he's like super strong. Like, if you're looking for a story where the main character is super strong, there's zero conflict, nothing bad ever happens, like, there's no tension whatsoever, then this might be for you. Because when I was reading this, not once did I ever think that the main character would lose. Not once has the main character struggled in this story. Nothing bad ever happens to him. He beats every opponent that he faces because he has the body of the emperor, and he's like got an innate Tao sword physique or something. And there's no real sense of progression in this story because he just keeps getting power ups, but they don't really. I mean, they do things, but you can't really feel the impact of them at all because he just goes from being able to beat people in one hit to being able to beat people in one hit. So even though he gets stronger, it's just really adding suffixes onto things. His powers aren't even explained at all. You just know he's strong because he is an emperor. If you're looking for the classic wuxia formula of key refinement, foundation establishment, golden core, nation soul, etc., this is not it. They use some wacky cultivation method that I've never. Well, I've seen it a few times, but it's pretty niche and um, it's not standard. But it doesn't really matter because when I was reading this, I had no idea how strong anyone was because they just toss out terms like the bridge foundation step, the holy palace setup stage. It doesn't make any sense. It's just names for things that mean nothing because they're not really described at all. So this is literally just a story where you have a main character. He obtains the body of an emperor, a sword emperor, and he face slaps people over and over and over and over again. I do have some qualms with what the story did. Um, Throughout the story, they try to make it clear that the Holy Maiden was not forced against her will to follow the main character and become his servant, but she definitely was forced against her will to become the main character's servant. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that if you like stories where the female lead is kidnapped by the main character and forced to do their bidding. I'll just judge you internally if you read something like that. But that's besides the point. My point is it's kind of weird. Like I would not have that much of a problem with it. I'd probably just ignore it if like that was it. But the problem is they emphasize, to a concerning amount that like she was not forced against her will to follow the emperor. She wanted to follow the emperor. And it's kind of weird how much they do it. Like they do it a lot. And it really doesn't make sense why the women are, bandwagoning onto the main character, besides the fact that obviously he's like an emperor destined to rule the known universe. I mean, I guess that's a pretty good reason, but like they have reasons like, oh wow, he's actually like a good guy, but he's not a good guy. Like he literally sucks people's souls. Like he's literally like Kirby. He sucks people's blood essence and their cultivation and then he uses it to make himself stronger. He's literally a demon. Like there is no difference between him and a demon. I don't know why people aren't saying that. Like no one says that he's using demonic techniques, but he's clearly using demonic techniques because he's sucking the essence out of people. And people are just like, oh yeah, that's like normal, whatever. But no one else can suck the listen. No one else in the story has been able to suck the essence out of other people. But everyone's like, oh yeah, that's like, of course he could do that. Of course that's normal. Yeah. I mean, I can't do that, but he can, and that's okay because he's the main character. Like, it does not make sense. Anyway, so this guy is really, really, really evil. And the girls who follow him are like very stereotypical. Like, wow, I thought that he was a bad person, but it turns out he's a good person as he devours people alive. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's really nothing much else to say. Like, it's just smooth sailing for the main character throughout the entire story. I literally could not fathom how this story could continue in a way that isn't repetitive. Because it's just him, and he beats people up. He gets stronger after sucking people. And then he moves locations. And then he beats people up. And then he gets stronger after sucking people. He has a system, but he doesn't have system missions. It just gives him rewards after he enters new realms. So I don't really know what the point of this novel is, to be quite frank with you. Like, I have no idea where it's going to go. I can't see it going anywhere. It's an entertaining read if you only want to read it for like 20 chapters, maybe like 15. I honestly stopped like caring after like 12. But if you're looking for a story where you can actually get invested in the plot, this is not it. This is just a read that might be entertaining for someone who doesn't really have anything else to do. So, in terms of actual plot, significance, why does this novel exist? I'd have to give it a 1 out of 5, maybe like a 0.5 out of 5. I mean, I really can't justify this novel's existence other than it just being like a source of, unsalted entertainment. But in terms of how entertaining it is to read, it's okay. Like, I was kind of in the zone when I was reading it a little bit. Um, it felt okay, like it was nothing too offensive, but nothing like, nothing stupid enough to make me laugh, nothing like genius enough to make me gasp, and nothing thought intriguing enough to make me think. This is just brain empty, just read line after line after line. Um, in terms of the translation, the translation's fine, honestly. I don't really have a problem with it. I noticed a few typos, but nothing major, really. So, I mean, it's fine. Like, it's probably like a 2 out of 5. Like, would read if you have nothing else to do, I guess. It's better than doing nothing, so I'll give it that. Again, shout out to the author, impressive, and the translator to, I don't know who the translator is, but if anyone knows, you can just comment and I'll like pin the comment or something. I don't really know how YouTube works. But yeah, don't trust these reviews. This could like shoot up. I don't think that this is going to get translated past the regular 40. So, you know, whatever. This is just another novel. Anyway, see ya.